Yeah, I think from the landlord perspective, it's been dead interesting. Like our office is fully rented, right? And I know on Hornbeam Park, I know it's a regional out of city centre offices. There, it must be about 95% full. But from the start of COVID to the end of COVID, the occupancy of our office is maybe only about 15% now. Now, we've done the normal office things as sort of the COVID measures and the 2 meters, the sanitisers, etc. And now talking to the owners of the businesses, now with 22 different businesses in there, right? The largest business employs 80 and 90 on 10,000 square feet nearly, and the rest are distributed in smaller units. But the business owners are saying they want their people back to work now. And the reluctance isn't from the owners, it's from the people that have been furloughed or working at home than they've never done before. And it's not that they don't want to come back, they're scared to come back. So the landlord's got to think about getting the incentives of getting the people back in and making, to me, got to think a bit more smarter to get them back in and ease their mental tension they've got of returning to work by saying, look, we've looked at our offices and we're making them COVID proof. Or even going further, and let's not talk about COVID, let's make our offices pandemic proof, whether it's COVID or some future, whatever disease it is, you know, COVID 23, 24, 25. And that's what I'm getting my head round at the moment. Now, my office is pretty simple. If we go on COVID measures, because we're out of town, we can open windows. Medical science is saying initiation is that fresh air, COVID doesn't transmit as much as internally. We can open windows. It's great for us, right? Yeah. But I can understand city offices, you can't open windows because of noise and pollution. So they've got to think smarter and think about how they can adjust the services to encourage people back and get a COVID-free badge, get a tick on their building. You know what I mean? Like a BRIAMA or a pandemic-free tick.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Set myself at a company and give them the authorization and everything like that.
I think there's an American standard, is it a well accreditation?
Yeah.
That seems to be, that seems to be. I guess that future proofing, we're going to be taking a lot of the basics out of that and working up our own standard going forward.
That might be a good idea, John, Gav. You know, I'm a member of ASHRAE. You've got access to ASHRAE guides, right? It's just to look at what their well standard is and start calling it the well standard over here and start pushing it.
Well, that's it, I think.
The well standard will include spatial arrangements as well as service arrangements and all that sort of stuff.
Like you say, over and above health and safety and well-being, like you say, I think people are going to be, like you say, selecting buildings in terms of a scoring system or equivalent, and obviously from a building design perspective, I think ultimately, you know, you've got a few issues, haven't you? You've got a congregation of people with occupancy in there, you know, so BCO, British Council of Offices, in terms of occupation density, you know, probably is going to have a change from your typical 1 per 10, you know, increasing maybe, you know, and the fact that, you know, the amount of airborne transmission and contact transmission within buildings now, just from a services point of view and technology perspective, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of changes in terms of building design, you know, and how they'll operate.
In fact, I'm rebranding the Innovation Centre as the Innovation Hub after what you said there, Gav.
Yes.
Companies are going to downsize and people want to work away from the offices. The big floor plates are going to go. Well, landlords will be partitioning these off pretty quickly, right?
What's just happened, Alan, which is weird about partition, that's a brilliant one. This survey we've just done internally, we asked them about would they prefer open plan or cellular.
Yeah.
So typically where we were before was a listed type heritage building, and we were split up into teams in the areas. So whether that's had an influence, but we asked the question, what would they prefer in terms of space? Now, whether this is COVID related or whether this is just what they've been comfortable working within, 90% of them would prefer not to work in open plan office space.
That's
Open,
so
open
interesting.
plan.
Yeah,
It's open
not
plan
they don't want open plan office now. Whether this is because everyone's been working from home and have been more insular within their own comfort bubbles, maybe building design is going to go back to more of a cellular way of shape and form, and maybe businesses have gotten to implement their own working bubbles within their cellular offices.
So we've actually approached it in a different way, and in the sense of, if you have, and this is just our take, so there's no one really knows yet because we haven't been through this, so this is just our take, in the sense of, if you have an open plan environment, you can see people coming towards you, so that helps at the moment with social distancing. So when you're in your own cellular space or your own pod, it's very difficult to manage who's coming in or out because you can't see what's going on around you. So we've been sort of advocating a little bit more actually around the open plan environment, because you can have visibility across the floor plates. There may be some advantages onto the mechanical and electrical side, which I'd love to explore with yourselves, and sort of what could be changing there. But also we've got a client at the moment that we're working with and looking at their office reconfiguration for the future, for when they return. And we were talking about business continuity and the sense of, we've always planned for security breaches or terrorism or burglaries or something where business continuity planning comes into force. But there are very few companies who've actually planned for a pandemic. So at this point, pandemic-proof buildings, we don't have them. So we're actually looking at ways of keeping an open plan office, but including secondary circulation. So actually making sure you've got two ways of being able to walk around an office, or thinking about how to navigate around in a little bit more of a smarter way. So that's nothing to do with security. It's nothing to do with open plan or cellular, really. It's actually to do with creating something that allows you to potentially have to social distance in the future, or what circulation routes have to be a certain way. So I'd be quite interested to look at, maybe Mark, it's something we need to ask our clients in terms of their feeling of open plan and not. I know that that particular client I'm talking about has done a survey around people wanting to return to work. They only want to come back to 2 to 3 days a week, but only to meet people, to collaborate. That's the only reason they want to come back to the office. So the office has got to become that really attractive pull to make the commute, to meet people. And actually, if you're meeting people in this environment, the last thing I want to do is sit in a meeting room with 4 other people. I'd rather sit in a wide open space and have that conversation. So as I say, that's just how we're coming at it.
Yeah, it's interesting, yeah.
I agree there, Vic. The Situ guys got in, expanding that circulation in the space.
Yeah.
They were saying something, it might be this, but they're saying we'll have a perimeter corridor right round the outside of the space. You have circular way round. But a landlord doesn't want any.
Doesn't want that. No.
I don't want any circulation space, because
Precious floor
tenants saying, here's the office, 10,000 square, but you've got 5,000, corridors and traffic. I'm not paying that. Whereas I'd rather still keep the open plan, but contain it within an environment, within the space provided by the services, if we can.